Can I hang out with your imaginary friend? He's not imaginary and he's not your friend. Yeah, that there about sums the film up. Hello guys, welcome to Smiles and Cries. So today's film review is the film Imaginary. Now, the premise of a childhood imaginary friend seeking revenge after abandonment did seem promising enough, but in reality I was left wishing for a much more imaginative approach. This film is just not scary enough for true horror fans, and then it is caught between whether we should call it a psychological thriller, but even then it just doesn't cut the mustard. So let's dive into the story. Now, every culture has entities that tether to the young. We call them imaginary friends. I call them a wasted opportunity, a waste of precious time, a what the hell were you thinking about with the cheese factor in this film. I wish I could imagine I didn't see the movie, as what is seen can never be unseen. Directed by Jeff Wadlow, Imaginary just gets bogged down in world building and cliches. With a decent enough core concept, you will quickly find that in between the smattering, the handful of scares, its potential is lost in cliched scenes that don't quite cut it. You will know exactly what I mean when if you see it. This original horror film taps into the innocence of imaginary friends, and it begs the perennial question: are they really just figments of our childhood imagination, or is there something more terrifying lying just beneath the furry surface? When Jessica DeWanda Wise moves back into her childhood home with her family, her youngest stepdaughter Alice Piper Braun develops an eerie attachment to a stuffed bear named Chauncey she finds in the basement. Just leave Chauncey alone, for Pete's sake. Alice then starts playing games with Chauncey that start off as playful and innocent, but as time goes on they become increasingly malevolent and sinister. As Alice's behaviour becomes more and more concerning, Jessica then intervenes, only to realise that Chauncey, the teddy bear, is much more a stuffed toy bear she believed him to be. In fact, Chauncey is a little devilish monster who cheekily capitalises on the sheer innocence and the naivety shown by the occupants of Chauncey's domain. Did you know that director Jeff Wadlow cited Poltergeist, a 1982 classic, as a major influence for him on this movie, where he was heard saying that it perfectly strikes the balance between scares and this benign sense of wonder and excitement and emotion that you get when you have a family that you care about. I like it. Smart, bold, primed and ready for good filmmaking to back those assertions and foundations up. But no. Now here we go with the cliches and, for me, the dumbness that permeates this film. The sort of stuff that will have you pulling your hair out and then some. So let's get that checklist out. Dad leaves halfway through. Check. Cheesy lines. Check. Threatening to show really messed up, violent images, getting you stoked up, salivating, drooling everywhere, and well, they're never actually showing them. Check. The film has an interesting and solid concept up front, but the recognised trope with the delivery actually anchored it down into the overused and all too familiar disbeliefs on nigh on every other horror flick out there. And this is where the film lets itself down like a deflated balloon. It's underwhelming and not that scary or spooky, and just plods along with the cheese factor increasing by the minute. Now, like I said at the beginning, the film drew me in to watch it, as Imaginary has a great hook, a fresh idea and plot, but then we have to contend with a terrible script, then we have to contend with all the cliches and the other nonsense I talked about. This film is not at all scary, but for those who like horror films, for the sake of watching any horror film, you will gnaw your way through your popcorn, probably amused and entertained for what you get, but I double dare you to watch it again, because I know you won't. Can I hang out with your imaginary friend? He's not imaginary and he's not your friend. Yeah, that there about sums the film up. Now, did you know that in the film the family moves into a house on Elm Street in Springwood, which of course, to you sharp-eyed fans out there, is a reference to what? You got it. A Nightmare on Elm Street, the 1984 classic horror franchise. So the final verdict, and just like your childhood imaginary friend, that fluffy little bear, the doll, the lovely memories that you've got of that furry friend, yeah, you'll forget about it just as quickly as you will this film. Imaginary will pass the time, but in the end, this is a pretty basic horror movie, and you will find more action in a waiting room. I wish I could imagine that I didn't see this movie, but I have, and there we have it. Watch it and drop your comments below, and let's talk about it. Guys, don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe to my channel. I'm off to get a cup of Rosie Lee. See you later on. Cheers.